Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's show. And today we are going to talk about uh, creating infinite possibilities in relationships. So, you cannot really avoid relationships anywhere, right? You have relationships everywhere. You have relationships at home, you have relationships in your family, you have relationships everywhere. Hi Sharika, good to have you live. So there is no way in which you can avoid relationships. So you might as well create the infinite possibilities in relationships, right? Hi, Roseanne. Hi, Dipti. Hi, Shaheen. Good to have all of you guys live today. So, if you have anything in particular that you want me to talk about, I'm happy to talk about it. Or, I will just continue with whatever I have in my awareness. I apologize, there's a lot of background noise. I'm actually in India and there are a bunch of kids just playing outside my window here. And this is the best room in the house where I had a decent amount of lighting. So I'm sitting here. Maybe by next week, I'll get sorted with something else. But this is what it is. So, relationships. So, the first thing I would say to you is that, if there is something that is bothering you in some relationship, and this could be any relationship, it could be with someone in your family, with someone in your workplace, with one of your neighbors, whatever it is, if there is a relationship that is bothering you, you can kind of look at that relationship and you can play with that relationship. And I call it literally have playing with the relationship, because that's exactly what you're doing. Because you're going to play with a few tools that I'm going to share with you, and these are the tools that I have typically used a lot in my own relationships. And I have, I've created change there. Let's put it that way. So, so the first tool that I would share with you is, I've shared this question before, and I'm going to share it again in context of a relationship. What would I like to create my relationship as? What would I like to create my relationship as? So, right in the beginning, when I was looking at my relationship with my husband, one of the things that at one point, of course, you always have something that doesn't work out, right? So I was like, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. And so after looking at all that, I started looking at, I keep saying I don't want. So what do I actually want to have in my relationship, right? And that's when I started using this question: what would I like to create my relationship with my husband as? Right? And you can put in the name, whose ever name you want to. It can be a relationship with your spouse, your partner. Hi Hemlata, hi Shaheen, hi Susan. Great to connect with all of you. It could also be a relationship with your ex, or someone, whom you are separated from right now. Okay, because if you have kids and you're going through the process of divorce, or you're going through the process of separation, you're still going to have some kind of relationship with them, right? You cannot really avoid that. So this kind of creating that relationship will bypass a lot of the angst which can show up, right? And so, I looked at all the things that I didn't want in my relationship, and I became aware of, okay, I don't really know what I do want in my relationship. And that's when I started asking this question, what would I like to create my relationship with my dash as? Okay. And the way that you ask this question is that you actually ask the question and don't look for an answer. It's kind of like you be the question. So for me, it was like an enquiry. So an enquiry is always open ended, you know. So when you are in a process of enquiry, you will have an awareness, and then you know that there is much more coming, because you're still in that question. What would I like to create my relationship as? And what started to happen was that I I realized that one of the things that we both really enjoyed was adventure. And so we started doing a lot of adventure things both together and as a family. So we started going out for camping. We started going out for these drives through the wadis and drives through the sand dunes and things like that. So we started going through all such adventure activities. We started going for holidays, you know, which involved some element of adventure to it, like trekking and hiking and so on. Um, and what that question did was that it started opening up all those different things that we enjoyed together. Okay. What it also opened up was that both of us individually, we started doing things that we individually like to do. Like, for example, my husband loves photography, so he got really involved with a photography group. He started going for their meetings every couple of weeks. He started sending in entries for photography competitions, and he's so good that he won quite a few competitions. So all that kind of opened up, and so he started getting that creative fulfillment from doing his own thing. And of course, I started doing things that really I enjoyed doing, which was like traveling the world, going and attending classes, going and delivering classes, and all those kinds of things. So those were the things that individually both of us started doing. And by doing that, we felt that sense of connection even more. Okay. The other thing that I identified, I also identified a few of the energies that I wanted to be there in my relationship. And one of the biggest one was to have no judgment, to have people in my life who had my back. So very quickly, it changed from from having a few judgmental people in my life to I started being surrounded by a lot of people who totally supported me, who had my back, who did not judge me. And I think that this was like a really very, very big piece for me. Like for me personally in my relationship, this is the thing that I will not compromise on. This is the big energy that I'm always looking for, to have no judgment, to have no judgment, right? So I started surrounding. So what I noticed was that people who used to judge me before, they actually, some of them, they moved away on their own, and some of them who actually remained, they stopped judging me. So that was like a big shift for me. So when you are looking at relationships, you have to look at some of the things that are non-negotiable for you, you know. So for me, to have people in my life who don't judge me, that's non-negotiable. That's like a really big important part of any relationship that I have, right? And so I'm willing to stand for that. I'm willing to consistently ask for that. I'm willing to choose that. Okay. And so, the question of what would I like to create my relationship as, I started actually playing with that question with other relationships in my life, relationships with other family members, relationships with my clients, relationships with my vendors, people whom I was buying stuff with. And actually, just, being consistently in that question, what it did was that it allowed things, it allowed energies, it allowed, um, you know, possibilities to show up in my life which would not have shown up otherwise. Because, if you don't have possibilities, what you have is fixed points of views. So, I had some really fixed points of views about relationships. And so, I would not have been able to allow new possibilities because of those really strict points of views. So, for example, if you have a point of view which says that everyone is out to get me, so guess what you're going to create? You are going to create, situations in your life. You're going to attract people in your life who are out to get you, right? That's exactly what you're going to create. But because I was consistently asking for what would I like to create my relationships as, I was actually allowing the possibilities to show up. I was also consistently asking to have only people who had my back in my life. I was consistently asking for people, who supported me, to be there with me, and that's what started to show up. So it's like, we have a default. So if you kind of look at the relationships in your life right now, and if there are things going on in those relationships that are not actually working for you, what it just means is that, your default is set at those things that are not working for you. So the good news is that you can always change it, right? It's You can always change anything and everything. Anything is possible, okay? So what I would have you do is take a piece of paper, draw a line in the center, and on the left hand side you can write down everything in your relationships that is not working for you. Just kind of list it out, okay? Once you've written down all of those things, then what you do is, on the other side, take each one of those and write down what you would like instead. Okay. So over here, if you have that, this person in my life judges me, then on the other side you can write, this person in my life is supportive of me. This person in my life has total allowance for me. This person in my life totally has my back. Like, I worked with a client, who was having, challenges in his workplace. Like, he was having an experience of having a boss who was who was critical of everything that he did, right? So, like, his boss would give him these kind of mixed messages. Like, he would tell him things like, I want you to take on responsibility for this whole project, do it on your own, and don't even bother me. That's what he would tell him on one side. And then he would try and micromanage him on the same project, right? And then he would continuously criticize him as a person. He would criticize the work that he was doing, and he was generally overall just critical of everything, right? So I had him do this exercise where I had him draw a line and write down on the left, what bothers me about my boss. And then he wrote down everything that was bothering him about his boss on the left hand side. And then on the right hand side, I asked him to write what he would like instead. And so he wrote down everything that he would like instead. And then I just, asked him to focus on what he would like rather than what he would not like. And so he started focusing on these things that he would like. So every time, so before he went to office, he would sit down for 2 minutes, and he would just read through the list of what he would like to have as an experience in the relationship with his boss, right? And he would read through that. It would take him about 2 or 3 minutes to do it. He would kind of be contemplating those things as he was driving to work. And what he noticed was, within a span of like 2 or 3 days, his whole experience with his boss changed. His boss, so he was like, I'm so amazed that I've done the work on myself and my boss has changed. Because what happened was that he disconnected from all the points of views that he had about his boss, all the expectations that he had about his boss, all the experiences that he had had, and all the emotional charge from all this. So, once he released all this, and then he started to put his awareness on the things that he actually wanted to experience, that's what started showing up in his life. And his boss became incredibly supportive of him. And his boss kind of just let go of all the micromanagement, and they ended up like really working well together. Okay. Now every relationship is kind of like a creationship, like it's a creation. So you cannot say that, okay, I've worked on my relationship once and now it's fixed for life. No, because you have to create it every single day, right? And so, if you can be in this question every single day, what would I like to create my relationships as? Like, you can just use like a blanket thing. And if you are particularly facing some issues with specific relationships, you can use the names of those people. What would I like to create my relationship with this person as? And what that does is that it opens you up to receiving the possibilities that are available in that relationship. And many times those possibilities are not things that you would have ever considered. Like, for example, when I was looking at my relationship with my husband, adventure was never like a big thing for us, right? We used to have like a really serious relationship. And then, by asking that question, we all these possibilities showed up where we stepped into adventure, together. The other thing was that we discovered laughter and humor. So we would, go out on these date nights together. We would just sit in these tiny little cafes, and literally we would be like, sharing jokes with each other. Like, we would find all these random jokes which you get as forwards, and we would kind of have fun with those things together, right? So that whole concept of having something in common, it kind of just fell away. And what we discovered was not like a common ground or a common thing, but we just discovered things that we enjoyed doing together, right? And that energy of adventure is still so strong for us. And, for both of us, we have this really strong connection with nature. So we like to do things that are, in nature together. Like, he's a photographer, so he went off on a photography trip where they went to this place in the desert where you could see the entire Milky Way, and he photographed it and came. And so, he took us to that place, and it was really amazing, seeing the Milky Way, seeing all those millions of stars. So just being in this question, like I would say, this is the one thing, this is the one question which has helped me transform many, many relationships. The number of relationships, honestly, like, which I would feel really, really constricted by. And then I started being this question all the time. And by all the time, I meant at least once a day, right? So here's what I would invite you to do. Look at the five people that you interact with the most in your life. Okay. Now these could be people that you are living with. These could also be just your family or whoever they are. And then take each one of them and be in this question with them. uh, Sometimes I will see that my sons, they get a little cranky. If I ask them something, they're a little short tempered, and they'll blow up over something or the other. And the moment they do that, I go to this question: what would I like to create my relationship with them as? And it's amazing the number of times that I've done it. And then they will give me some information, they will tell me something, like some challenge that they are facing in their school, or their university, or just in their relationships with their friends. And once they share their challenge, and they become open to receiving some kind of change there, and then I can either facilitate them on it, or I can just be there and listen to them, and then everything changes. So play around with this. Even if you are going through a divorce, even if you are already divorced, you can use this question with your ex, right? Maybe you've already maybe you have a kind of angst in your relationship with someone who has already passed over. I would invite you to use this question with even people who have passed over, like especially if you have been in abusive relationships with them, maybe in the past or something like that. And so when you start to when see, here's the thing: even if they've passed over, the moment you think of that person, if you experience an emotional charge, then still, in spite of them not being alive, that relationship is impacting you. It's impacting your life, it's impacting the way you are creating things. And a lot of times this kind of emotional charge, this abuse, it's actually stored in your body, right? So what you are looking for is, you are looking for letting go of that emotional charge. And this question is really a great way of letting go of emotional charge. So initially, you might resist it or whatever. So that's why the trick is not to look for an answer. The trick is just to be in the question, just to like have it be as an inquiry, right? And just be in that and start to see what shows up. Like, if you do this every single day for the next 7 days, maybe even 30 days, you will start to see that shift occur in your relationship with people. So kind of this was most of what I wanted to share with you with regards to this whole topic of relationships. If you have any question, anything, feel free to share it in the comments, and I can kind of address that. But basically, my biggest tool with creating infinite relationships, infinite possibilities in relationships, is this question. What would I like to create my relationship with this person as? Now, you can also, take this whole concept and look at your relationships with with other things in your life. Like, look at your relationship with money. So if you have like an interesting relationship with money, you might consider asking this question: what would I like to create my relationship with money as? Right? Because so many books I've read, which talk about having a money honey, or sorry, okay, like having a money honey, or things like that. And um and uh, for me, I that just doesn't kind of do it for me. Like that concept of money honey, I don't know, I just can't wrap my head around it, or whatever it is, right? So I find it easier to go, what would I like to create my relationship with money as? Right? What would I like to create my relationship with my business as? Right? Now, if you have different programs that are going on, different courses that you do, or whatever, you can take each one of those course, and you can be this question: what would I like to create my relationship with my radio show as, for example? Right? What would I like to create my relationship with my bar's business as, for example? So every aspect of your business, you can take that and you can ask this question as well, right? uh, Oh, yeah. What would I like to create my relationship with me as? Absolutely. That's, yeah, totally, totally, totally do that. And and again, like one of the biggest things for me in creating a relationship is having no judgment. So if you are asking to have no judgment from others, then that's one of the big energies that you can ask from yourself, that I don't want to judge me. I would like to have my own back. Those are the two things that you can really ask for when you are creating a relationship with yourself. Good question, Susan. Thanks for asking. So that's exactly, what you start to do. Play around, look at the different relationships in your life. What would I like to create my relationship with my career as? What would I like to create my relationship with my job as, for example? What would I like to create my relationship with my education as? Especially for for youngsters, who have to make that career, who have to make that choice of an education, like what would you like to study? If you're unclear about all that, what would I like to create my relationship with my education as? What would I like to create uh, my relationship with with knowledge as? What would I like to create my relationship with awareness as? Right? Like all these different things, right? You can kind of play around with that, right? Good questions and great examples. Yes, absolutely. So, like look at every aspect of your life, look at how you relate to everything in your life. You can have a relationship with your bank account, you can have a relationship with, all kinds of things, right? So what would I like to create my relationship with my bank account as? What would I like to create my relationship with my PayPal account as? And so on. So you get the drift, right? So start playing around with every single thing. And as you be these questions, as you be in this inquiry, what you will start to do is you will start to pull in infinite possibilities with each one of these relationships. Okay? So Yeah, so I guess, that's what I kind of wanted to talk about today. So, in case you guys have any question, please feel free to ask me. And if you have no questions, then I invite you to go out, play with these tools, and uh, please do come back and share what shifted for you as you've been. So, as you can see, my thing is not perfect here today. I'm on a bed and I don't have a stable surface. So that's a great adventure to have. So, anyways, thanks everyone for hanging out with me today. And I will see you next week. Until then, have a lot of fun and create infinite possibilities in your relationships. Bye, everyone.